Hello, my name is Peyton Schneider. This is my informative speech, and here's my audience. Okay. So, hello everybody. Thank you for being here today. How many of you have ever made a decision in your life? Good. Okay. And how many of you are those people who are just like the indecisive ones and just wish people would stop asking you where we should go to dinner? Yeah, okay. Yeah, there's a lot of those too. Have you ever wondered why it can be so hard to make a decision? Something even as simple as, should I have Chick-fil-A or a salad for dinner? Well, today I'm going to tell you why it is that, according to Freud, the notorious psychologist, why it can be so difficult to make a decision. And it all has to do with your unconscious mind. I'm a psych major, and as a psych major, we're required to know a ton about personality and the mind, and one of the biggest things we study is Freud and all of his theories, which include the unconscious mind. Using his theories, we may be better be able to understand why it is we think and feel the way we do, and therefore we might have a better grasp on our actions and things like that. So there are three parts to Freud's unconscious mind model: the id, the ego, and the superego. So today I'm going to explain to you what they are, how they work together, and what happens and why our life is so difficult when they refuse to work together. So here I have supplied you all with a diagram of it. This is the easiest way to really explain and understand Freud's model. So the first thing that you should know about the model is that above this water line is the consciousness. So this is your conscious mind. It's what you're actively aware of every day. Below it is the unconscious. And like an iceberg, you can see that what's above the water is much, much smaller than what's below the water, which means that a lot of what we think, say, and feel has to do with what we don't even understand. Like, we don't even know that it's going on. So we'll start with the ego. No, we'll not. We will start with the id, okay? The id is the pleasure seeker, okay? That is the part of your unconscious mind that wants Chick-fil-A because it tastes good. It's the little devil on your shoulder that says, hey, do this because, like, you want to, okay? As you can see, the id is completely unconscious. It's completely subconscious. So those processes are things that we are born with or that have been ingrained in us, and so we're not aware of them. We don't necessarily think, oh, I'm hungry right now because of this, this, and this. It's just, I'm hungry, so I'm going to eat food. Next, we're going to go to the superego. The superego is the opposite of the id. It is the little angel on your shoulder. That's the one that's like, you should eat a salad because you're on a diet, and people will look at you like you're healthy. That's your moral compass, and as you can see, it spans your conscious and unconsciousness, which means that some of it is conscious. Those are the things like your values and your morals. You're aware of them. You can say them. But a lot of it is also unconscious. Those are those societal factors, the things that influence you from when you were born, like how to make friends or like what not to do and what to do. You know murder is wrong just because society says so, things like that. Now the ego then is the great balancer. It's the judge. It's the one that's constantly trying to find a compromise between the id and the superego. And as you can see, like, that is equally conscious and unconscious. So, you know that you're making a decision, but a lot of why you're making that decision or how you're making that decision goes unnoticed. So as you can imagine, the ego has to make a lot of, do a lot of work throughout the course of just any given day. It's constantly battling with the id and the superego, trying to find a fair balance without letting one win out over the other. So like, should I hit snooze? Should I go to class today? What should I wear? What should I eat for breakfast? All those decisions the ego ultimately decides. But what happens when the ego can't decide? When the id wins out or the superego wins out? Well, according to Freud, that is what causes anxiety. So if you've ever felt bad about something or guilty or you're just anxious, you don't want to decide where you go to dinner, that is because either the id or the superego is being a bully and won't let the ego make the decision fairly. Make sense? So how exactly do we make that better? How do we avoid this anxiety? Well, Francis Bacon said, even 250 years before Freud was even born, that knowledge is power. And so you guys, just by listening to this speech today, are now more knowledgeable about how the inner workings of your unconscious mind work. And so therefore, now you can hopefully begin to realize why maybe you make the decisions you do. And that way you can help have your conscious mind, the one that is actively making decisions, help your ego to balance those things. And so hopefully, the superego or the id won't win out. Because when the superego wins out and you eat the salad, you're maybe like, well, that wasn't good, or, well, I never get what I want, and you may feel guilty or anxious because, well, you really wanted that Chick-fil-A and now you'll never know how it tastes like. Okay? Or if the id wins out and you're like, well, I ate the Chick-fil-A and it tasted good, but now I broke my diet and I'm a failure, or whatever. You may have those guilty feelings or that anxiety. So being aware of that can help your ego make decisions fairly, so that hopefully you can avoid that anxiety in the future. So, maybe hang this up or something, and it'll be like a nice little mantra for you. But either way, good luck and happy decision making. Thank you. And here's my audience again, all still awake. Thank you.